We did a show not long ago at the Amsterdam Historical Museum about a Japanese wood print maker, and he was influenced by Europe. Are the wood prints that you're displaying in this show, do they show influences that might have come down from this period of time? Perspective and things like that?
No, not particular. What I have at the moment is somewhat later. I think we can skip in time. I just showed you a print over there, which looked like Matisse. Then it gets the other way around. But the perspective influence this man, I forgot his name at the moment, had is not. You can't find it back in my prints. No, not particularly.
Now, prints or wood prints have been a popular form of art in Japan for a long time. When did they first start coming into the West as a popular form?
Of course, people brought them along, the Dutch brought them along because they were the only ones in contact with Japan. Mr. Siebold was a German but worked for Holland, brought some to Europe. I think they trickled in from the 1830s, but that was mostly just a few and by, scientists and people who were very interested. Later on, after the opening of Japan, Japanese dealers brought them along, and then they came by the trunkload. They came to world fairs, and they came to France, to Paris. They had Bing and Hayashi, they had a shop there. And then they got into a bigger public, and then you get this influence on Van Gogh, Monet, all these people buying them, not one or two, but hundreds sometimes. And then the general public gets to know them.
Now, you have a number of different artists and very different styles. What are some of the styles that you see in Japanese wood prints, and how did they change through the years?
Well, I think it's not only a question of style, it's a question of subject. They were made for a group of people who were becoming very rich. You had the samurai and the upper class, and you had the rest of the people. In the 1700, a little bit later, it's 1800 on, you get a middle class, a rich middle class, and they go to the theater and they go to ladies of pleasure, and then you have the need for little pictures of them to keep as a remembrance, and then you get this big interest in geisha prints and actor prints. And well, you can say three things. And the cities and the places in Japan where people travel to. Those are the three subjects you see mostly. And then with the geisha, of course, you have the decent geisha prints, but you also have the erotic ones. When you look at my prints, that goes through time and the subjects stay the same. Even in the 1930s, you still have beautiful women and landscapes. That is still the same. And then, of course, you have a fourth subject is the history of Japan, with heroes and famous women who defended their husbands and all kind of things like that.
Now, a woodblock, what is the technique of a Japanese woodblock? How do they go about making it, or what's the style?
It's a cooperation of four people. It's in a way the most important one is the publisher, who has the money and the shop. He asks a designer. Sometimes they are in his employment to make a drawing. And that drawing, when he thinks it's all right, is glued on a block of wood, cherry wood, and face upward, upside down, and then a cutter, which is the second or the third person already, cuts away everything which doesn't have to print. And then you have a key block, and from the key block you make as many prints as the colors you will need, because every color on a Japanese print has its own block. And sometimes you have a print, you can really count them out, and you say, oh, okay, they have needed 15, maybe 20 different blocks for one print. And then the blocks go to a printer, and the printer, which is not one guy, mostly it's one for each color, prints the blocks, and then they go back to the publisher, and the publisher tries to sell them. And they used to print as much as they could in one day, try to sell them, and if it was a hit, they would print the next day or the next week. If not, the blocks would stay in a safe place until they could use them again. And with those, you can see when they reprint them that some have shriveled is not the right word, but some have shrunk a bit more than the others because of the temperature in Japan, the changing weather. So it's always a big sport to find prints from this first run, which is almost impossible, but that's what I like to do. But because especially what we talked about Hiroshige, the first Hiroshige, the first 500-600 they printed are the most beautiful ones you can find. So that's a process which is incredible, how it fits, how you can put the same sheet on 20 different blocks and that all registers exactly. That is amazing. That's not done in European art, never. Nowhere. Dürer made the most beautiful wood blocks, but in black and white, not in color. So that makes the Japanese prints exceptional.
Now you're having an exhibition on the Spiegelstraat. When is this, and where can people come and see it?
I will open on Saturday the 27th, and I will be open till the 4th of June. Every day from 12 to 6. Also on the Sundays. And it's on the Nieuwe Spiegelstraat 37 on the first floor.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.